I'm Kyle Ott, and this is Ludus, the game of gladiatorial management in the final desperate days of Rome. It's a game for 2 to 6 players that takes about 60 minutes to play. In Ludus, players manage a ludus, or a school that trains gladiators, each of them competing for glory, gold, and all of the things that come with gladiatorial success. The player with the most renown at the end of Ludus wins.
First, unfold the game board. Next, shuffle the gladiator deck, and then place 6 gladiators in a row. These represent the gladiators that are available for purchase. Next, shuffle the battle deck, and place 1 battle face up in the active slot. This is the battle that your gladiators will be competing in at the end of the round. Next, place the information tokens next to the back alley. Place each player's colored betting token on the gambling den. And finally, place the round marker on the first part of the round track. Now, the board is set up and ready to play. Now you're ready for player setup. Give each player 3 servant meeples. These are the workers that they'll be placing at different spots around Rome. Next, give each player their 3 basic gladiators. Make sure that they place their dice on the leftmost die in the die track. Finally, give each player 7 denarii. They'll need these denarii to purchase gladiators and take other actions around Rome. The player that goes first is the one who has most recently watched a professional sporting event. During each turn of Ludus, players will take 1 action, sending their servant meeple to one of the spots in Rome. For example, let's send our servant to the market. If a space in Rome has 2 crossed swords, it means that you actually use a servant and a gladiator to perform that action. The higher the die of a gladiator, the better the result. So for example, if we send our basic gladiator here to the market, we'd only wind up getting 3 denarii for it. But if we send our peaks early gladiator to the market, we'd wind up getting 5 denarii. Whenever you send your servant to a spot with those crossed swords and you use a gladiator, you must turn that gladiator. A turned gladiator cannot be used to perform other actions during a round. There are several sections in Rome, however, that have an X symbol. These areas of Rome do not require a gladiator to be used. So for example, if I place a meeple here in the bowels and I want to purchase any one of these gladiators, I don't need a gladiator to do so. Now that we've talked about what to do with a meeple, let's talk about what each of the sections in Ludus do. The back alley is a place where savvy gladiators can go to get information on other teams. Depending on the value of die of gladiator that you send to this section, you'll get a plus token that will benefit you in an upcoming battle. The forum is where you send gladiators to go hype up your ludus. These earn you renown, or the victory points that you will need to win the game. The market is where commerce takes place, and the better the gladiator you send, the more denarii that you'll gain access to for future rounds. You can of course always go begging, which for those in the desperate stages of Ludus will most likely need to do. You can gain either 1 denarii, or if you have a basic gladiator that is either retired or dead, you can recover 1. The bowels are the beating heart of Ludus, and this is where you'll recover and buy new gladiators to join your gladiatorial school. Gladiators in the upper sections are more expensive, but as you purchase additional gladiators, they'll fall down, dropping their price. Some gladiators are ridiculously cheap, but at the end of each round, 2 gladiators will be discarded and the entire row will shift. Now, one of the most important things, both in Ludus and in ancient Rome, was gambling. In Ludus, you can actually turn a huge amount of profit and glory by betting on other players, not even just yourself. If you go to the gambling den, you can pay denarii, take a betting token, and exchange that later on for renown if the person you bet on wins the battle. Last but certainly not least is the medicus, which we'll go into a little later when we talk about how these gladiators in Ludus change and grow. Now let's talk about how gladiatorial battles work. On the count of 3, all players, if they want to enter a battle, will turn one of their unturned gladiators and send them into the arena. Then, if there are any betting tokens, there's another 1, 2, 3 count, and players place their betting tokens on the gladiator they think will win the match. Now, it all comes down to a simple roll-off. You'll add the die value of the die track and then roll your dice. So in this case, our solid gladiator has a result of 6. Our basic gladiator also has a result of 6. Now, in the event of a tie, both players will share the victory, which for our battle here is 6 renown, which again are the victory points that you will need to win the game. In the event of a tie as well, any bets would also pay off since all the tied players are winners. But let's say, for example, our solid gladiator won on a 10. In this case, the bet would pay off and only this player would gain access to those points. Now that's how a regular battle would work, but let's talk about how a death battle would work. In the event that this had advanced past a skull, then only the winning gladiator or gladiators in the event of a tie would survive. All losing gladiators are discarded. Now it's time to reset the board and begin another round of Ludus. First, discard the active battle card and pull another one. All players should know exactly what they're about to fight for. Then, clear off the bottom 2 gladiators from the bowels and move the rest down so that new gladiators can be purchased. Now comes the most interesting and compelling part of Ludus. You'll need to turn your gladiators back so they can be used. However, just like real people, your gladiators will grow and change the more that you use them. When you turn a gladiator back, they move 1 die down their die track. Some gladiators will start powerful, but as they accumulate injuries, will start to become less and less useful. Other gladiators start weak, but as time goes on, and they enjoy experience, wealth, and power, will grow more and more useful. How you use your gladiators in Ludus is essential to success, and choosing gladiators that you think benefit your overall strategy is a huge part of winning. After you've turned your gladiators back, remove all servants from the map and return them to their players. Place all betting tokens that were used back on the gambling den. Return any of those combat tokens that you gained from the back alley back to the back alley. And then first player shifts to the left of the previous first player. After the 8th round of Ludus, the game is complete. The only part of setup you'll need to do again is one final turn of gladiators. This will allow gladiators who were on their last die track to retire and bring in one last bit of renown to their Ludus. Then, after one final round of retirement and the 8th round, it's time for scoring. The player with the highest renown wins.
And that was Ludus. Thank you so much again for your time and your consideration, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.